Hi guys, Ian here. Welcome to another video and to my channel. Today I want to talk about the subjects of love and fear. I'm a bit breathless. I've just been running up the stairs to sort out something with these critters here. It's strange, isn't it? Because often we think that the opposite of love is hate. And perhaps the opposite of an aspect of love is hate. But I want to suggest that the opposite of love at its highest arc, on its highest archetype, is not hate, but fear. Now, before I start, now some of you will know if you've watched my video that I come from a Christian background, and although I'm kind of spiritually eclectic these days, my years in the church have stuck with me, and as any Christians out there will know, you kind of begin to soak up scripture, and when you start to discover other truths or whatever, it kind of brings scripture alive in some respects. So although I'm going to be talking about I'm going to be using like two extracts from scripture to talk about this love fear thing. If Christianity isn't your bag, then stick with me please, because I think you'll see that the principles I'm talking about, which I'm just hanging on these two kind of scriptures, pretty universal, and I guess you'd find them in any school of spiritual teaching or philosophy. So I want to start out by looking at kind of what love is. And I've done a video ages ago now on the nature of love, and in it I explain more fully than I will now that the English language is not really very good for describing love, in as much as we say, don't we, I love my mother, I love my dog, I love pizza, I love my music, I love my sports, I love. And very often we don't actually mean that we love in all of those situations. What we mean is I like. Yeah, I love my family, I like pizza, I enjoy music. You see, we don't have that kind of ability to kind of vary what we mean. Well, we do, but we don't use those words, do we? We just say love. I love everything. But it's not so in other languages, and in the language of the New Testament, which was Greek, we see different words being used for love. So that's the first thing, that there are different aspects of love, and that's quite important in kind of what I'm going to be talking about just now. Now, to go on to one of those scriptures that I talked about, most people will be familiar with the scripture from which the words God is love is taken, and I think it's 1 John 4, I think. And that's just the end part of the scripture that says God is love. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it doesn't say God is loving or God feels love. It says God is love. So that's interesting, and most people will say, well, I can't believe that, because look at the atrocities in the world, look at the cruelty, look at disease, famine, destruction. If God was loving, then he would not allow that to happen. He would make everything wonderful for everyone all the time. Now, even in saying that, perhaps we can see how fairy tale like that expectation is, because our species would not evolve if everything was perfect all of the time and lovely. We progress through adversity, don't we? So I'm not saying that God allows all what happens to happen for that purpose, because I don't think God thinks, at least not in any way that we think. But, so I don't lose my point, it doesn't say God is loving, does it? it says God is love. So if you look at the word used there, it's a certain quality of love. And in the Greek, it's the word agape. And when agape is used to describe love, it means a benevolence, a goodwill, a outpouring of self, a putting of oneself before other people. It's about giving. Now, if you believe what I believe, that the universe and all that there is in it, all of creation, is actually God, because to go back to the teachings of the Kabbalists, the Ein Sof, which is divinity, the source of all things, is everything. There is nothing more. So the whole universe and everything that there is and was and will be is actually God. So the giving, the agape love, the outpouring of love is in the creation and second by second sustaining of life. It's like the blood of God pouring out and being everything, to use that kind of a metaphor. It isn't love that makes everything right for us and stops cruelty and stops atrocities. That is not what it is, because divinity, to me, is not a souped up human. Someone who sits and watches and says, oh, that's happening, oh, I'm going to stop that. To me, if that is what God was, then we're pretty stuffed, because that's not going to work, is it? I don't think. So God is love. So God is life, outpouring, constant and forever. So if we look at that, the opposite of that isn't hate, is it? That wouldn't fit at all. So what is fear then? Let's just have a few moments on what that is. When I think about this, fear can always be reduced to loss and anticipation of loss. So I might fear for loss of a partner, loss of a parent through death, loss of my reputation, loss of my job, loss of my possessions, loss of my health, loss of freedom from pain, persecution. So fear is always about a sense of possible or impending diminishment in some way, isn't it? Because if you think about it, if for example we fear pain, when we're experiencing that pain, we don't fear it, do we? Because we are in it, it is upon us, we endure it. But what we might fear is future pain or the continuation of that pain. So fear seems to stop when, just a minute, no. So fear seems to stop when that which we fear has come upon us. Okay, so on to my next scripture, and I have written this one down because I want to read it to you, and it's from 1 John 4:18, and it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has torment. He that fears is not made perfect in love." And for many years I knew this, but I didn't understand it. And it's only, as is the case with much Christian teaching, it is only now that I'm studying within the Western mystery tradition that these scriptures make any kind of sense. And this, hopefully this will be an example. So God, love, outflowing river of life. Fear, it says, he that fears is not made perfect in love. Now, I looked at that word, made perfect, because what does that mean? And in the Greek, it's something like, and I'm probably going to slaughter the pronunciation, teleoi, or something that sounds a bit like that. And it talks about completeness. So there it says made perfect. Teleoi talks about completeness and specifically lacking nothing that makes that completeness. So no gaps in that which is required to make a person full and whole and everything that they are. Interesting. So if God is love, and if fear is the absence or incompleteness of love, what does that mean to us? Well, it would seem to mean that we need to be filled with love. We need to be filled with God. Okay, so what does that mean? Yeah, I don't think it means to be filled with good works, or to be filled with loving feelings, or to be filled with kindness, although they're all good things to be filled with, I would guess. I think it means to be filled with that knowledge of what love is. Because when we know that, stop! When we know what God is and what we are as divine sparks, as children of divinity, then much, if not everything that we fear, loses its power over us. Let me try and give you an example. And I'm not saying, right, that fear isn't real. We feel it. I feel it. It's real, but it's not true. That is the difference. Let me try and give you an example. If we can believe absolutely and utterly, without any room for doubt, that we are eternal, immortal beings who, at our core, at what we really are, which is not this. This is a temporary aspect of us. If we can live in the knowledge that we are eternal, immortal beings, that we cannot be damaged, that we cannot be killed, that nothing that matters in any way at all can be taken from us, then we probably cannot fear. Can we? If we are invulnerable to anything that can cause us permanent diminishment or damage, we can be free from fear. Yes, our bodies can be hurt, our bodies will pass away, but we don't. And I know it's like a platitude and a kind of a, I've heard that so much before, but the body is like, the Bible says it's like grass. It springs up, it withers, and it's gone. And whilst we have a body, yeah, we can know pain, but it will not last forever. We can know loss, but it won't last forever. Even if it lasts our entire lifetime, that is a blink of an eye when we consider what we are behind that, beneath that. They might be saying, oh, it's all very well for you. You've not had this and that and the other. And I know that compared to some people, I've had a very charmed life, for which I am very grateful. But I have had things happen to me that have caused me to fear and despair. And I'm not saying that I won't ever be in that circumstance and situation again, but I do feel that I'm a little more complete now than I was. If I'm like a pie chart, you know, I think the bit of me that understands what I am and understands that I am love and I am of love is much bigger than it was some time ago. And the more that I know that, really know it, not just in my head, but in my heart and in my experience and in the atoms of every cell in my body, the less I'm able to be afraid. The less I am able to live in fear of something that is going to cause me eternal loss, eternal pain, eternal diminishment, because I know that there is nothing that can cause that. That of me which is really me, the higher self, the immortal I, is not subject to age or damage or hurt or pain. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thought. It's a, it says, that you'll know the truth and the truth will make you free. And it's true. It is true. The more I learn and know about divinity, the universe and myself, the more I do feel freed. Anyway, before I start going off on one and get sidetracked and goodness knows what, I'm going to end the video, make a cup of tea and get on with something else in my day. Anyway, it's great to chat to you. Hope you found my video to be somewhat of interest, and see you guys soon. Take care and bye for now.